Okay. And I cough straight away. Wonderful. Yep, so I have gone live and welcome to the live stream. It's going to be going for 2 hours starting now. I'm going to be doing a haul. I've got some movies and things here. Going to be answering questions, going to be doing pretty much everything. But you will have to pay attention because there is a moderator, and the moderator is middle-aged geek girl, and she will block things. And if anything inappropriate comes up, she'll get rid of it because she's helping out. But anyway, how is everybody? Hope you're doing well. There's nobody here yet, but I've got to do something nice at the start of the live stream because people will watch it later. And of course, I want them to be entertained. So there's going to be a lot of really cool things. Not going to show you what they are yet. I'm going to go through them piece by piece as we go through the live stream. And I have all of the necessary requirements. I have coffee, and pretty much everything. That's an interesting light coming through from outside. For some reason, the camera has turned it into a teal-colored light coming from outside, and I'm not unhappy with that because that looks really, really cool. Yeah, that's pretty bloody wonderful. So, yeah, we're in lockdown again, by the way. Zambi Adams says, love the channel, Terry. Great to see you. Great for you to be on the live stream. Yeah, we're in lockdown again. 5 days lockdown. I probably should explain that. And then there's middle-aged geek girl just piping in, as I wanted to do. But yeah, 5-day lockdown at the moment. I'll explain the situation really briefly. I don't want to make the live stream all about that. Basically, there's not enough vaccine here in Australia because the government screwed up. They haven't said they've screwed up, but everybody else has said they have. So when we get an outbreak of COVID, we've got to lock down states or cities and regions. And at the moment, there's a little bit of COVID around where I am. So the state of Victoria is locked down for 5 days. It ends early next week. But this is our 5th lockdown. So we're kind of used to it. We're champions in Australia of doing lockdown. So that's what's happening. And Thomas says, good evening. Hey, Thomas, thanks for coming along. It's got to be late at night where you are, dude. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, so as I said, it's going to be an Ask Me Anything kind of live stream. It's going to be a haul live stream. It's going to be whatever we like. Hey, look, my overhead lights as well are giving me little rays of light there, which is kind of cool. I like that. I'm getting some great special effects here without actually trying. That light will change as the sun rises because it's morning here. And that head's there for no good reason. If you want to know what anything is in the background, let me know and I'll tell you. But yeah, middle of the night, Thomas says, thanks a lot, mate. Keep your coffee up. Yeah, so I've been watching some things, and FG says, good evening, Terry, 5 p.m. here in Kansas. Yeah, I tried to make it so that where most of the people who watch the channel are is in the United States and Europe. So I've tried to make it a little more friendly to you guys by doing the live stream at 8 o'clock in the morning here in Australia. So that's how it's going to be. And I'm just experimenting to see whether this works. I want to do regular live streams. Just a sec. And at some stage, I may do special live streams for YouTube members. When I open up memberships to the channel, which I will do at some stage, I'm going to be doing kind of member live streams. I'm going to try to keep the price of memberships fairly low so that we can get some people in there. But Zemi says, do you like 70s XXX movies? Some of the best films from that area? Yeah, 70s XXX was good, Zemi. One of the things that the 70s had when it comes to adult films is they had stories. They were plotted like mainstream films. So you had comedies, you had dramas, you had some quite sweet movies like The Opening of Misty Beethoven and Champagne for Breakfast and things like that. So yeah, I can't really talk about them on the channel that much because YouTube has certain restrictions and that will kind of limit where the channel can go, and I don't want to be known as a porn channel. But yeah, it's something that I find kind of interesting. Let's see who we got. 3 p.m. here in Berkeley. This is Oman Taval. Glad to see your phone alarm. Yeah, thank you for setting an alarm. That impresses the hell out of me, setting an alarm. And Steve says, hi, everyone. Ever watch Phase 4? Yep, it's going to come up on a future video at some stage, inevitably, because Phase 4 is one of the great science fiction movies of the 70s. And Bob Ecker says, hi, Bloomington, Illinois, checking in. Great. And Sammy says, anything with Jamie Gillis for me was amazing. Yeah, Jamie Gillis was pretty good. I mean, there's so many good actors who ended up in there. Harry Rims was a pretty good actor. He started out doing Shakespeare. But I don't really want to go too far into that for the live stream. So, yeah. So let me see. What have I been watching? I'll start out with what I've been watching. So I watched Loki. I watched all 6 episodes, and I know Middle Aged Geek Girl did as well. I think Loki was a bit of a bait and switch by Marvel, to be honest with you. Loki was them setting up the multiverse. So Marvel's got the rights back to a whole bunch of intellectual properties they had, things like X-Men and Fantastic Four and things like that. So they've opened up the multiverse through Loki, and that shows you the opening up of the multiverse, which is the whole point of the whole 6 episodes. And that then lets them do X-Men in the future. It lets them do Fantastic Four, lets them do Spider-Man, and bring all those things in together, which is kind of interesting. And Middle-Aged Geek Girl says, no more adult questions, and with the sticking out of her tongue. Okay, fair enough there. So, yeah, I watched Loki. I didn't mind it. Tom Hiddleston was great. Sophia DiMartino was great. Having Richard E. Grant in there, I've got a real fondness for Richard E. Grant, apart from With Nail and I and things like that. And Richard E. Grant is the same age I am, so he looks, of course, a lot better than I do. But I kind of got a fondness for him. He's a good writer too. If you can get any of Richard E. Grant's kind of diary books, there's one called With Nails, which is really great. He's got a good self-depreciating sense of humor. Let's have a look here. The other Bloomington, Indiana. Sorry, Bob, Indiana. I apologize, mate. Have I considered putting my collection on something like Plex? Not really. It's a difficult thing to do here. I haven't got the storage for it. And to be honest with you, I tried Plex a few years ago. It's probably got a lot better now. But I may look into it at some stage in the future. But I'm kind of full on just building the channel and watching the things I've got to. And Graham Townsend says, fork it. Is that supposed to be a joke? That's supposed to be like, okay, yeah, okay. But yeah, so I watched Loki because I have a bit of spare time. And I'm one thing's starting to cheese me off. I want a binge series. Now, Loki came out weekly, and I watched it weekly. Middle-Aged Geek Girl binged it. But when series come out now, we expect to see them all at once. And I kind of like that. I like to be able to sit down for however much time I've got and just go through a whole bunch of episodes of something rather than wait weekly for them. I'm not that patient, really. Zami says, have I seen The House with the Yellow Carpet? No, let me have a look at that. House with Yellow Carpet. Italian Giallo. No, I haven't, but I'm just going to keep the tab I just opened to look it up open so that I can see if I can find a copy of it. Is it any good? Yep. Let's see. Your film retrospect is a real treat and so underrated. We've got to get you 100,000 subscribers. Bob, anything you can do to help me get 100,000 subscribers would be great. We're creeping up on 7,000 now, which is pretty impressive to me. And the views are really good as well. Some stage in the next month or two, the channel will hit 1 million views, which is mind-blowing. The human mind cannot conceive the idea of 1 million of anything. Yeah, Zami Adams says, great movie, really offbeat. I'll keep that open and see if I can find The House of the Yellow Carpet and see what I can do. And I'm always up for recommendations. I've also got a kitten crawling around my feet here who may make an appearance at some stage. Hang on a sec. There is Luna, the kitten, with her first live stream appearance. I'm going to put her up on her little mat here and let her wander around as she will. That green glow there is getting really cool. I don't know if anybody can see it, but that is freaky. It's an artifact of the camera because I've turned down the brightness a little bit, but it looks really cool. I'm totally happy with that. Let's have a look. Yeah. Luna appears on a lot of Middle-Aged Geek Girls videos and is an agent of chaos in those videos. Knocks around. She does a crafting channel, and Luna knocks the hell out of the craft while Sally's doing it. Oh, middle-aged kid girl says, looks very cool from my screen. Yeah, that's cool. Total accident, but I really, really like it. I can tell you what a few of the. Anybody want to know what a few of the other things in the background are? Sparkling Starlight says, "Hi, Luna." Over here, let's see what have we got. There's a teddy bear there that middle-aged geek girl gave me. Let's have a look. You can only just barely see it right there. That's a little jar with some of my mother's ashes in it, which is some people think it's creepy, but I kind of like having a bit of her around. Let's have a look here. Ocean's 11 poster, record collection. There's a turntable just behind my head here. Some of my reference books are there. Some of them are up there. Bob C says, have you seen Liquid Sky? Yeah, I have seen Liquid Sky. I don't remember it being very impressive to me, but I'm always willing to reevaluate movies based on the fact that I saw something in the 80s, but now I know a lot more about movies. And so my opinions and my views on them may change, and I'm always happy for that to happen. D. Lee says, I don't see a green glow, but it is a very sharp and clear image. Yeah, the camera I've got is a Logitech Brio. It's a 4K camera, but it uploads at 1080, and I'm quite happy with the quality of it. It really does do what I want it to do as far as live streaming is concerned. And also, if I'm doing Skype calls, I've occasionally got to do Skype calls for various reasons, and Zoom, and it really does pop. I can actually adjust the settings for the focus. So I've currently got it on autofocus, so it's focusing on me quite well. But the camera is quite nice. It wasn't the cheapest camera in the world, but I think it's one of those ones that's a little bit future-proof. If I can upload at 1080p on a live stream, I'm happy to do that. FG says, I saw Liquid Sky. I thought it was way too weird and boring. I'm kind of not going to judge a movie I haven't seen for a long time. There are a lot of movies. There are new movies I want to see, but there are also a lot of movies I want to revisit as well as parts of the channel, and that's going to be interesting for me. Okay, Sparkling Sono says, if you could choose any comic book character, regardless of DC, Marvel, Image, whatever, to start a franchise with, who would it be and why? There's a few of them. One of the ones I'm really happy about at the moment is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I'm really looking forward to that because I was into that in the 1970s. And I think Simu Liu is going to do a great job as the character. Who would I do? Probably Deathlock the Demolisher. I know that Deathlock's appeared in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I really like that kind of future thing. I read the comics back when it was Luther Manning as Deathlock. They did a retcon on it. So I like Deathlock the Demolisher a lot. I also like The Authority, which is a really great comic with a lot of background. I like Global Frequency, the Warren Ellis one, which was made into a TV pilot that was never turned into a series. That's very cool. The Invisibles as well. The Invisibles is a very long-running series, which includes Magic. It's got one of the first trans characters in comics, and it really does have some weird and wonderful things, which have been a little bit borrowed from certain other franchises, but that's kind of okay. Let's have a look here. Liquid Sky So Bad It Was Good. Have you seen the short film La Jetée by Chris Marker? Yeah, absolutely. La Jetée is great. I think it's better than 12 Monkeys. 12 Monkeys I kind of like, but expanding La Jetée into a feature length I don't think is particularly useful. Zombie says, Cinema Sewer is coming to an end. Are you a fan of Rob and Bougie? Yeah, we're friends on Facebook. And I bought some of the Cinema Sewer magazines. It is a shame that's coming to an end. Hell of a fine artist, and the vision of Cinema Sewer doing a movie review kind of magazine, hand drawn on every page, is just an amazing thing. A really great talent. Lee says the original 74 Deathlock series and Astonishing Tales is very good. Enjoyed reading that when it came out. Absolutely. I've got the omnibus edition in the other room there, and I like reading it. In fact, I've got a couple of Deathlock the Demolisher figures, which I kind of like having as well. One of the things that's interesting that's come up as far as comics are concerned, if people are interested, is they're looking at retconning Luke Cage and a couple of the other people who were done in the Netflix Marvel series. And I'm up for that. I like Luke Cage as a character as well. If nothing else, he gave Nicolas Cage his pseudonym because it's actually Nicholas Coppola. But yeah, I like Luke Cage a lot. I think Ghost Rider may well work as a major character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I know that Ghost Rider has been in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and, of course, the movies with Nick Cage. But yeah, it'll be an interesting one. So I'm going to do the first of the haul. I'm going to start the haul and put them bit by bit through throughout the live stream. And you're going to like this one. This one's got the best title, and it's actually, I think, a hidden gem. I know very, very, very little about it, but I bought it because of the people in it and because of the title. And it's a movie called A Pain in the Ass, starring Lina Ventura. Hang on, I like to messing with that. Starring Lina Ventura and Jacques Brel. Now, people know Jacques Brel more as a singer-songwriter. Died in 1979. And Lina Ventura's great action star in Italy in the 1960s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. So I'm looking forward to watching that one. It's an action comedy about which I know nothing. Kino Lorber put it out. And yeah, I'm kind of going hidden gem. I may well put that into a future video because it looks like it's a lot of fun. So I've got that one. That's the first one. I'm going to do them little bit by little bit. So yeah. Yeah, Deathlock. Yeah. So a pain in the ass. I'll let you know how it is. I will put it into a video at some stage. Maybe I'll do some European crime hidden gems. That might work as a video for the channel. But Hunting Ground 1983 is a must-see. Bought it on VHS years ago. The ending has to be seen. I'm actually going to tab these recommendations. So that I can find them now. Okay, let's see. Got that one tabbed, so let's go back to the live stream. Yeah, just ordered. A huge fan of Brellas. Absolutely. The weird thing is, I was listening to the late night radio in 1979, and they did a big long retrospective on Jacques Brel because he died in 1979. So I found out about him the day after he died, and they put in a lot of Brel's songs into that radio program. And I've been a fan ever since. He's just a fantastic singer, songwriter. He was Belgian but lived in France. And there's a movie called Jacques Brel is Alive and Well and Living in Paris, which has a whole bunch of his songs. It was based on a stage show. So if you can find a copy of Jacques Brel is Alive and Well and Living in Paris on DVD, it's worth getting as well. Fantastic movie. Paul Cook says, A Pain in the Ass was remade with Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau. That's kind of interesting too. Do you know what the movie was called? I may look it up, but yeah, let's have a look. They made a movie about me, A Pain in the Ass. Wow, I didn't know that. Sparkling Cyanide says, yeah, I don't think it was about you, and I know it's a joke, but really looking forward to that. Have I seen Peaky Blinders? No, but then there are so many series around, and I know it's a good series. I hear great things about it, but there are so many series around. I'm kind of limiting my series binging to the stuff I really, really, really want to see because I'm doing more and more for the channel. When I do the 2-part things that I'm doing at the moment, I've got to watch 10 movies, which is like 20 hours of viewing minimum. So I'm kind of pulling back on watching TV series a little bit so I can dedicate more time to those things. D-Lee says the Scott Walker rendition of 8 Brel songs is also good. Alex Harvey's version of Next as well. I've got that on vinyl, the sensational Alex Harvey band. And Scott Walker's Brel album is fantastic as well. Big fan of Scott Walker. Got his first 3 albums. They're the ones I really like. And since he kind of backed away from the Walker Brothers back in the day. And Sally says, don't forget to like the video. So if you can like this video, it will help the channel. The algorithm is God, and the algorithm needs to be fed. Am I able to watch the that are presented on Turner Classic Movies where I am? No, I can't, Bob. They used to be on a streaming a cable platform called Foxtel, but I don't have Foxtel anymore. I worked for them at one stage. I was in their call center for a time, and I got free Foxtel, which was really great. But they've since become less relevant in the marketplace. They're kind of struggling a little bit now, and they've kind of lowered their prices and all sorts of things like that. But I can find movies if I need them. That's the thing. I can find them online. I can, if I'm really interested in them, I can buy them. But I know Turner Classic Movies did introduce people to a lot of great films, and all credit to them for that. Aman Taval said, just ordered Alive and Well. Don't know if I can afford to stay in here. Look, just make a list, and as you can afford it, just buy them. Don't think you need to buy them right now. Just make the list, because that's part of what I do here, and you'll find that you will eventually get there. I've got a mental list of things I want to get, and occasionally I'll get a little bit of pocket money, and I'll be able to buy them. Steve Roberts says, the Big Finish Sapphire and Steel audiobooks are awesome. Excuse me. I've heard great things about the Big Finish, their stuff in general, the audio versions of various franchises. Yeah, so it's Middle-Aged Geek Girl says, Terry is very much an enabler. Yeah, I am. I'm more than willing to let people skip meals so they can buy movies I recommend, but not too many meals. Just a sec. I'm going to have to wet my whistle. I'll put on the mute for a sec. So do people want to see some more of the haul? I'll wait for you to answer. And I've got a bunch of stuff here. This is the haul over the last month or two. Sammy Adams says, you're interested in using Jenny Agutter's flat in American Werewolf in London. There's a few streets up from me in Earl's Court. Love that movie. Yeah, it works. Horror comedy is something that's a crazy balancing act. You've just got to get it perfectly right. Otherwise, it's lame as hell. FG says, yes. Okay, let's see what we get. I did pick this up. For some reason, I didn't have it, but I picked up Clint Eastwood's The Man with No Name trilogy, only on DVD. It's a bare bones kind of DVD, but I wanted to have it, even though I'm not a big stan for Clint Eastwood himself. I do like Sergio Leone. Got this for like $10 for the 3 movies. Sometimes I don't want the whole extras that go with the film. I just want the film itself. If I want to know more about it, I can look it up myself. But I picked this up really cheaply, and I'm kind of happy with it. Let's see. Sparkling Cyanide says, I just checked out Creation of the Humanoids solely on the recommendation. Yeah, the Creation of the Humanoids is one of those movies I saw as a child, and it blew my mind. And having kids' minds blown by movies is a great thing. And did I put the mute off? I did put the mute off. Yeah, Tim Oliver says, love seeing a 1970 comedic western called My Name is Nobody recently on Blu-ray. Do I know? Yeah, I saw it in the cinemas. That's how old I am. And Terence Hill and Bud Spencer are always fun. I think that there were so many of those kind of westerns of the buddy ones that they did. And unless you're in the mood for it, the comedy is incredibly broad and slapsticky. And the dubbing is sometimes not very good. I don't know whether the version you've got is dubbed or not, but yeah. Bob Ecker says, CCM used to be included in a free channel on cable, but it's now considered premium $10 a month. But yes, seriously, Turner Classic Movies geek. Yeah, $10 a month isn't that bad, really, for if you're going to get a lot of use out of a channel. Absolutely. Zami Adams says, Blind Man is a great western with Ringo Starr. I've seen Blind Man a couple of times. There are just so many great Italian westerns. Now, I'm not going to say spaghetti westerns because apparently that's a little bit derogatory, but I don't mind watching them. Absolutely. I think there are Spanish westerns. There was actually a western called The Drifting Avenger, made in the 1960s here in Australia with an all-Japanese cast. Now, you're going to have trouble finding The Drifting Avenger. I think it may be on YouTube. But it's got Australian landscapes and Japanese cast. It's a wild little movie. I think there's a supporting cast of Australian actors in it. But it was a really weird little movie at the time. Graham Townsend says, watched Extra yesterday, reminded me somewhat of Under the Skin. Yeah, it does have that vibe. It's one of those things where you don't quite know what's happening, which is kind of interesting. I like movies, things like Primer and Pie and movies like that, where you've really got to kind of lean into the movie and dive into it and accept the fact that you're not going to get all of it the first time you watch it. I think that's a bonus because you get to watch it again. Yeah, Sparkling Science says, I've got region-free DVD players. I make sure to buy them. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, region-free DVD players are, um, they're necessary here because if you want the good stuff, you've got to have region-free ones. I've actually got a couple of them stockpiled so that if they stop making Blu-ray players at some stage, I've got a couple of spares. Okay, Dilly says, Return of Captain Invincible with Alan Arkin and Christopher Lee is a good Australian superhero spoof. Yeah, I mean, I've seen it. I've got a copy of it. And as well, any movie where Christopher Lee sings is great value. I really like Christopher Lee as a persona. And I got some friends who worked on the special effects there as well. Back in the day, I think 1983 it was. But yeah, The Return of Captain Invincible was a lot of fun. Bob Beck says, got to go. Dinner is ready. Love you, Terry. Stay safe and well. Yeah, thanks, Bob. Thanks for dropping in, mate, and enjoy your dinner. Zambi Weston says, Dirty Western, starring Sonny Franchese of the Colombo Mafia family, directed by Joseph Robertson. Ken Riddell says, hi from the UK. Hi, Ken. Stay safe because apparently Boris is opening your country up to pandemics. But thanks for dropping in, and it's got to be crazy late out your way, mate. Graham Townsend says, dividing the world into regions was a waste of time from the get-go. Absolutely. It was only done to placate movie studios. And the nice thing about 4K video, the ultra high definition videos, is they're not region locked. And at some stage, I may need to get a PlayStation 5 for the simple fact that you can use those videos on them. So at some stage, it's a possibility. I know that Middle-Aged Geek Girl wants a PlayStation 5 to play games on, but I may well want one because it's a kind of good way of getting a 4K Blu-ray player at a reasonable price. Okay, let's... Lee Lavery says, good morning. Yeah, hi, Lee. Thanks for dropping in. Steve Roberts says, I'm a fan of old anthology series like The Night Gallery by Rob Serling. Yeah, I've got The Night Gallery, and it is creepy. There's one called Green Thumb with Elsa Lanchester, one of the episodes of that, which is crazy creepy. And I think it's also got Cameron Mitchell in it as well. So, yeah, Night Gallery is great and a good concept too. I like the concept of it as well. Emmy says, hi, Terry, good morning. Love the 80s science fiction retrospective. Reminds me where we got our first VCR and rented Look at Brainstorm Mad Max 2. Yeah, Mad Max 2 was filmed out at a place called Silverton in Western New South Wales, and I visited there. And a lot of the locations are still there. It's an old mining town, which has only got a few houses there now. And it's a really, really wonderful place to visit. And they have a Mad Max museum there, which we visited. So that's pretty cool. And Ken Riddell says, do you get the soundtrack to go with the films I watch? Sometimes. Soundtracks, I've got a number of them over there in the on vinyl. I've got a whole bunch of different music in there. And I've got some soundtracks on CD as well. It depends on what it is. But yeah, sometimes I do go with soundtracks. And soundtracks is a big rabbit hole to fall down when you're a movie buff, because there's just so much good stuff. There's some crazily good stuff, 1960s Italian movies in particular, with composers like, of course, Morricone and Rizzo Tolani and people like that. Just fantastic music to listen to. Lee says, got second jab Wednesday, felt a bit rough, all good now. Great, Lee. Always good to kind of vaccinate yourself against the pandemic. I've had my second AstraZeneca jab because AstraZeneca is the cheap option that our government bought. But I felt fine. I think I got a little bit woozy, a little bit kind of off for a day after each jab. Middle-aged geek girls got hers as well. So, yeah, vaccination is the way to go. And it's really great getting that 5G radio signal as well. Okay. FG says, one Saturday morning, I accidentally caught a Japanese Western movie called Zatoichi the Blind Swordsman. Thought it was awesome. Zatoichi is great. All of the Zatoichi movies, including the ones that Takeshi Kitano did, the older Zatoichi as well. There's also another one called Hanzo the Razor, which is about a magistrate in medieval Japan, which is really wildly crazy because he fortifies his body in some interesting ways. But yeah, Carl Bunker says, yeah, Green Thumb was a good Night Gallery episode. Remember it well. Have I seen Cloud Atlas? If so, what do I think about it? Cloud Atlas has got a lot of yellow face in it. It's got a lot of kind of Caucasian people with epicanthic folds over their eyes. So it kind of put me off for that. I understand the reason why and I understand the logic of it, but I don't think maybe it shouldn't have been made into a movie and with Caucasian actors playing Asian characters. It just put me off for that. Lee says, had AZ jab too. Welsh government, absolutely. Mate, my ancestry is Welsh. My mum's Jenkins. So, yeah, absolutely, mate. Yucky da. Ken says, am I not worried about the side effects of the jab? We had a radio DJ here who died of it. Yeah, but on the other hand, Tim Brooke Taylor died of not getting a jab. And there are a whole bunch of people who did. If you have a look at the list of celebrities who've died of COVID, I'm not worried at all by the 1 in a million chance of having side effects with the jab. I'll put money down on a million to one shot every time. Okay, what goes from ladies fingers, old ladies, absolutely. Yeah, so I'm going to go with the next one. This one I got, again, I'm kind of okay with buying bare bones copies of movies, and this one I got for $1. I went down to Williamstown, which is a suburb not far from us, and picked up a whole bunch of good movies for $1 each that I knew I didn't have in the collection. I don't know how I know whether I've got something or not. Sometimes I'm wrong, but most of the time I'm right. And this one's kind of wild from I think 1960. The Vikings with Kirk Douglas, Tony Curtis, Ernest Borgnine, and Janet Leigh, which was filmed on location in Norway, and the fjords and everything look great in this. They Viking ships again. It really is a little bit of a fun adventure flick from the age. And 2 movies came out at the same time. There was this one and The Long Ships. I'm going to have to rewatch The Long Ships and maybe do a comparison video on them at some stage. But The Vikings was a nice, fun adventure thing. Kirk Douglas being athletic as hell. Tony Curtis being Tony Curtis. Yeah, it's worth checking out. There's some great locations in particular in this one, and some good character actors in the supporting roles. So, kind of glad I finally picked up a copy of that. I could probably stream it from somewhere, but I don't mind having physical media. So there we go. Okay, we've got to catch up on the chat. Benny Bruce says, hi, Terry from Kiwiland, the real down under. You're planning to check out the new Dune remake. What do I think of David Lynch's version? There's a story there. I like Lynch's version. It was limited by the time and limited by the fact that he bit off more than he could chew. I once watched Dune while I was under the influence of LSD back in the 80s. Now, I don't recommend people do drugs, and if you do, please do it safely. But it was a real cool movie to watch when you're under the influence. I've watched it while I'm not under the influence. I've got a copy of it on Blu-ray now. And yeah, I think it's quite impressive. And yes, I will be watching the new one. I like Denis Villeneuve as a director, and I think he's going to do the right thing. And I think the casting on the new Dune remake is choice as well. Let's see. Japanese films from the 70s. Ever seen Beautiful Girl Hunter? There's lots of great movies from that era. Yeah, I've seen a whole bunch of Japanese crime movies from that era. Beautiful Girl Hunter. I've got to add that to the tabs here. There we go. Got that bookmarked. Yeah, middle-aged kid girl says, don't do drugs, kids. Time for another cough break. Okay. Have I seen a 1995 TV series called Spellbinder? Yeah, I have. So watched it at the time. It's actually met one of the producers of it. They were really into the genre of filmmaking for kids. I don't know what they're doing now, but Spellbinder really worked, and yeah, punched above its weight as far as special effects and as part of science fiction storytelling for kids. Really a bit of a lost gem. Alan Ford, hi Terry, relatively new to your channel, find it fascinating. Love your take on things. White dog review, great. I've recently been discussing Schrader's Dog Eat Dog with Friends. What do I reckon about it? Haven't seen it since I first saw it when it came out, but I'm going to tab Dog Eat Dog as well so that I can go back and revisit it. So I'm going to end up with a whole bunch of tabs here, but I don't mind at all. Middle-aged Geek Girl says, don't do drugs, kids. Yeah, and Mimi says, well, I had no idea Timbo Taylor died from COVID. Absolutely. There are a whole bunch of people who did, and that's horrible. But yeah, there's if you have a look through the recent deaths thing in Wikipedia, particularly in places like India where things are running rampant, there are a lot of Bollywood movie stars and a lot of Bollywood people, a lot of just everybody still dying from COVID. And I will take a jab if it gives me a chance of not getting that because I don't want to gasp for breath. Agent X Channel says, grew up listening to the Viking soundtrack. That music from the Egyptian definitely rewired my synapses. Yeah, there's some great classic film soundtracks out there. Let's see. Benny Bruce is cool, like the Lynch version as well, which is not a popular opinion. Don't worry about popular opinion. Go with your heart. Go with the stuff that you like and defend it. Don't defend it because I just like it, but defend it because you've got good arguments for defending it. Absolutely. Let's see. Amateur Vale said, my intro to Heather Mitchell. She was excellent in that. Yeah, she's still making television here in Australia as well. Great actress. Why is it the Japanese don't make time travel films? Ken, they do. There's a time travel film about a modern bunch of army people that go back into medieval Japan. I forget the name of it offhand, but it's definitely there. Mark the Demystifying Retroactive Jealousy Support says, hi, Terry. Hi, Mark. How you doing, mate? You keeping well? Looking after yourself? Hope so. Let's see. 8-Bits Nick Boy says, loving your cult movie series. Somewhat strangely, I've watched all these movies in the last 2 weeks. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm enjoying the ride. I'm enjoying it too. It's a bit different. I did podcasting for like 12 years, and I wasn't getting a lot of traction with it. And then I decided to do the YouTube channel, and I'm getting traction with it, so I'm quite pleased about that. Should have started YouTube 10 years before I did, but you can only go from where you are. Jerry Soul 619 says, can't believe you didn't add Cherry 2000 to the 80s science fiction. It's an ongoing series, Jerry. You never know what's going to turn up, mate. There'll be things on there. Benny Bruce says, vastly more people die from COVID than vaccination by several orders of magnitude. Absolutely. I don't want to get too deeply into it on the live stream, but people can tell from my videos where I stand on this. I'm always in favor of the science, and I think there are people who have got agendas to get people to not follow the science, and I've never been a big fan of that, partly because I've always been a science fiction fan. Mr. DeGenzi says, oh, hi, welcome, huge fan of Lynch's Dune. Saw it in cinemas with a double bill with Dark Star and got the 2-disc DVD special edition. Love its grandness, absolutely. I think Lynch is a unique filmmaker, and he's always brings something interesting. I really think the new version is quite bland and style, I guess. If you don't have to have a full-length version of Hodorowski's version, you have no soul. Yeah, Hodorowski would have been great doing Dune, but I'm willing to wait and see what Denis Villeneuve does, because I think that he's a director with a great imagination, and I think that it may well pull it off. You can't always tell from the trailers. They save some of the good stuff for the movie itself. Yep, 99.2% of new COVID cases of people aren't vaccinated. Absolutely. What about a perspective on Dan Curtis's Dark Shadows movies and the Night Stalker telefilms? A great version of Jekyll and Hyde with Jack Palance. Deserves some love. Absolutely. I've got the Palance, Jekyll and Hyde. I've got the Night Stalker movies, which Kino Lorber put out on Blu-ray, and with a lot of great extras as well. I've got both of those. Hodorowski would have done Dune great. There's a documentary about Hodorowski's attempt to get Dune made, and some of the casting on that was crazy good. It was left field, but Hodorowski, absolutely. If you haven't seen El Topo and the Holy Mountain, definitely watch those movies. Sparkling Sunlight says, ever seen The Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires? No one prepared me for that one. Yeah, I have. I saw it in the cinemas. and it was one of several collaborations that Hammer did with the Shaw brothers, including Shatter. And yeah, it's a different version of vampires, absolutely. Ken says, ever think about doing a reaction video to what I watch? Reaction videos are difficult because you can't monetize them. I don't want to use too much copyright stuff. There's fair use, which YouTube allows, but reaction videos are problematic from the way I want the channel to go. And for me, I just usually sit. I'm so concentrating on what I'm watching when I'm watching something. Uh, I don't tend to talk. I tend to tune out the world. So if my reaction video would be a lot like, because that's the way I roll. That's just what I do. Let's have a look here. I just saw a free version of it on YouTube. Just wondering, Idiocracy. Middle-aged geek girl. Every time somebody does something stupid, she says Idiocracy is a documentary. Yeah, the studio did screw it up, but I like the idea of it. And yeah, if I like Sergio Leone, I might like Vittorio De Sica. Absolutely, De Sica is great. I saw De Sica in a movie recently. I can't remember what it was, but he was a lot of fun in that. Emmy, will you be watching the Foundation series on Apple Plus? The trailer looks great, but I'm afraid they'll screw it up. I probably will, but I don't have Apple Plus, so I may well try to find another means of seeing the Foundation series. I'll give it a go. It's got Jared Harris in it, and I know Middle-Aged Geek Girl's a big fan of Jared Harris. But one of the problems with doing Foundation, and this is a problem with any adaptation of Asimov couldn't write characters. He wrote great ideas, and he played through with the ideas. But the guy couldn't write a realistic human character if he held a gun at his head. So that's a lot. One of the difficulties, and of course, the series has to address that at some stage. D-Lee says, one of the Godzillas is a time travel film, Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. Absolutely, yeah. For time travel anime, watch Erased, John Lennon says. Absolutely, I'll give that a go. Let me see. I'm putting that into the tabs I'm making on the computer here. Just give me a sec. Cough times. Yeah, 8-Bit Snipe Boy says, I watched Terry Nation's Survivor series during the last lockdown. Saw it as a child, terrified me. It still holds up today. Definitely worth checking out. Yeah, I'm not sure I will because of that limitation I've got with binging series while I'm doing the channel. But yeah, absolutely. Yep, there we go. Middle-aged geek girls piped in with, yeah, G.I. Samurai 1979. Craig says, thanks, Craig, for that. Yeah, that was it. G.I. Samurai. They did a remake in 2005. Absolutely, that was a time travel Japanese one. Yeah. So yeah, you're recommending Survivors, Epic Snack Boy. It isn't a movie, but you're recommending it. Absolutely. If people are interested in the Survivors, the British post-apocalyptic TV series, go for it. Trifford 1, hi Terry, love your work. Hoping Liquid Sky will appear in your 80s cult movie science fiction series. May well have to do Liquid Sky given how much love it's getting. Larry Burbridge says, just watched Warning Shot with David Jansen, a rare and really good neo-noir. I like David Jansen a lot. I watched him in The Fugitive. Particularly liked him in Harry O, his TV series Harry O, where he plays a private eye. There's a kind of world-weary, old school feel about David Jansen, the guy. And yeah, he's died early, unfortunately. He had a lot of medical problems, but really liked David Jansen. He did a movie in the early 60s about a forest fire, which is really crazy because they actually set fire to a forest to make it. Ken Rudell says, who are your favorite directors? There are so many. I mean, classic directors are like Vincente Minnelli. Of course, I like Fellini. Let's see. Put me on the spot now. I like Tarantino. I did the 24-hour binge marathon of watching all of Tarantino's movies, which was a bit of a head spin. But yeah, it's so difficult. There are so many. I like Ida Lupino. Those little films Ida Lupino did in the 1950s are really fine pieces of noir in some cases. But let's see, who else do I like? I do like some of John Ford. I definitely like Samuel Fuller. I definitely like Peckinpah. just so many directors. Steve Roberts disagrees, about the characters by Asimov. Yeah, but that's one character. For the most part, they're really undistinguished. And people adapting Asimov's works have said so. The big thing screenwriters have is trying to humanize the characters. Asimov was a great ideas guy, absolutely, but not a lot of good characters work there. Mr. D. Genzi says, "Oh, and watched Savage Harvest a few days ago. The in-between scenes were like off days, really, but the animal attacks were horribly fast and meaty." Um, Jerry, so 1619, is Enemy Mine too mainstream for the channel? No, I like Enemy Mine. It's a remake of Hell in the Pacific with Toshiro Mifune and Lee Marvin, but yeah, I can see how it works, and I think that Dennis Quaid and Lou Gossett Jr. were great in it. It was one of those weird movies that was made in English by a German company, but I think it works, and I think that the message it sends is pretty good as well. So back to the haul. Let's see what else we got. This one I got for $1, and this one is a surprise. It's a Blu-ray. Imprint are a company working out of Australia here that are doing some really great, particularly genre works, and putting them out on Blu-rays with tons of extras. But I found their version of When Worlds Collide for $1 in a thrift store. And that surprised the hell out of me because it's a great film. I already had it, and I'm going to be giving this to a friend of mine. But the idea of finding a $30-odd Blu-ray, which has only just been released in a thrift store, was an opportunity I couldn't miss. And When Worlds Collide is a lot of fun to watch as well. So I got that for $1. Michael says, "Yeah, I saw the Vikings when I was a kid. It was great." Yeah, it's very much of its time. I think I'll go have some water because the coffee's really putting a layer on my mouth. I'm sure that sounded good to everybody. But yeah, I'm crazily happy with getting When Worlds Collide for $1 on Blu-ray. And it's in good condition as well. I mean, can't really complain about the price. I'm going to have to revisit that thrift store, the Salvo store in Williamstown, because, oh, okay. Middle-aged geek girl says that's what she said. Craig says, "Any thoughts on heavy-handed digital remastering? Remember seeing Paris, Texas for the first time on DVD. Love the color palette, then found the original print look completely different." I think one of the problems is that sometimes the originals do lose their color a little bit, and people tweak them when they remaster them. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But for Paris, Texas in particular, I'd be willing to look through anything that was a problem like that because I like the story and I like Harry Dean Stanton. And I'd be willing to kind of forgive that even while acknowledging it. Yep, great finds. I love Powell. Most of his movies are fantastic. Yeah, there are even things like some of my favorite George Powell movies are things like Tom Thumb with Russ Tamblyn in it, and The Yawning Man and all that kind of stuff. Those kids' movies really do have a real charm to them, and the dancing and the music were great. Sparkling Sunrise says, "Survivors is available on YouTube right now. That shows so scary, cool art does imitate life." Yeah, I watched right when the pandemic started. I watched Contagion again for the radio gig I do, and it's it's a hard watch. Tim Muller says, "Alias Smith and Jones series from the '70s since we've got now. Am I a fan? So overdue for an HD format. DVDs are strangely poor quality. Depends on the original source, and also that was kind of an unacknowledged remake of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid." Hang on, I've got a kitten meowing somewhere here. Luna, where are you, Spud? She's around somewhere here. Okay, which Kirk Douglas film does he play someone with one leg? Man from Snowy River, I think, was one of them. But let's see, other issue with Asimov is that he didn't really go for action or violence in his story, so adapters would have to ramp up that and sell it to the suits. Yeah, Dilly, possibly. I think that a lot of his stuff is kind of thought experiments, and that's sometimes hard to translate into movies. John Kenny says, didn't even finish to see Oliver Stone's first movie. What did I think? I haven't watched it for a long time. I know Mary Warrenov was in it, but yeah, I can't really talk about it because I can't remember that much about it from the time I did watch it back in the day. Do I have a favorite movie composer? You have to go with Bernard Herrmann and Ennio Morricone. I like David Raxon, who did the stuff for Laura and The Bad and the Beautiful and 2 Weeks in Another Town. I kind of like his stuff mostly. He's one of my favorites. I like Rizzo Tolani. I like Piero Picconi, some Italian things. Morricone, of course. Morricone was just so versatile. It was crazy, the range of kinds of music that he did for his stuff. But yeah, and Michel Legrand in particular. I love Michel Legrand's stuff. Just so many good film composers out there. Sparkling Silence, that's good to know. Don't know if I regret buying the DVD box set. Critics were harsh on middling with Dog Eat Dog, but I found it really satisfying in equal measure, bleak, violent, insightful, gripping, funny. Schrader is old dog who originated into the new tricks. Yeah, Schrader seems to be a troubled person in some ways. And occasionally he gets projects up. I know he did one with Lindsay Lohan, which was well received. But yeah, he's as a writer, he's definitely made his mark on cinema. Let's see. Amon Taval says, so you don't have to click that edition of When Worlds Collides going for $360 used. Okay, that's my retirement income taken care of. Yeah, people says, come on, people, give Terry a like, damn it. Yeah, absolutely. You can also do super chats. If you have a look at the chats in there, you can do super chats if you want. And if anybody does a super chat, I will give them a 1-sentence explanation of the end of a classic film. We've got a whole list of classic films and my idea of what the movie is about in 1 sentence. So let's see. Ever seen a great film composer? Leila Schifrin's made the movie Abominable. Yeah, I like. Ever seen it? John Kenny says Leila Schifrin's son did a movie. I'm not sure what that means. Did I ever collect video cassettes? Not really, no. Karen Riddell says, I like Zach Hemsey, good composer. I'm not aware of Zach Hemsey's work, but I'm sure that at some stage it will ping on my radar. Coffee time. Cheers. Okay, let's go back to, here's one for you to find, and I recommend this one. It's an Australian film by Ralph de Heer, and it may not have got much love from overseas. It's actually a twin disc version, and I got this one for $1 as well. Ryan Schifrin directed Abominable. Okay, thanks for that one. Australian film called 10 Canoes, which is a movie Ralph de Heer did, and it's set in Australia before white people came here. It's a comedy drama. It's a kind of human drama thing made with an all-Indigenous cast about how Indigenous people lived before white people came to Australia. And I highly recommend this one. It's an eye-opener. It's got some great acting in it. It's a real hidden gem of Australian cinema. It's fairly recent, and I picked this one up for $1, which I'm happy about because I'm always trying to promote Indigenous filmmakers. Ralph de Heer isn't, but a lot of the people he worked with on this one is. Ralph de Heer lives in Adelaide, South Australia, and he's made a whole bunch of films. But 10 Canoes is definitely a recommendation for me. I may well review it at some stage in the future, but I'm happy to get this one, and it's criminally low priced at $1 to buy such an interesting and kind of important Australian film. Mary says, please do a series on 1960s Japanese gangster noir films, maybe obscure samurai films. Absolutely. I want to do things like Tokyo Drifter and some of the Seijun Suzuki movies and other things like that. Good Aussie film was Black and White with Robert Carl. Yeah, they had to import somebody to star in it. Let's see. Night Stalker was great. It was like a 1970s X-Files. No, X-Files is like a 1990s Night Stalker. Let's get that right. No, he didn't do Rubber Proof Fence. Rubber Proof Fence was made by, let's see, who was it? Might have been Bruce Beresford. Let me just check this out. I'm going to find out for sure. Phil Noyce. Phil Noyce did Rubber Proof Fence. And again, that's one I recommend as well. Really harsh film, but honest film. That green glow I'm getting there, I don't know if other people are seeing it, but that green glow I'm getting there is not going away. I'm kind of happy with that. Dead Calm 1989, absolutely. There are so many great Australian films. A real hidden gem, if you can find it, and I know it's been released by Umbrella Entertainment here in Australia, is from 1983, a movie called Goodbye Paradise, which is about an attempted coup in Queensland in Australia. And it's a crazily harsh satire of Australian life. Stars Ray Barrett, and it's a real great hidden gem. May well find a copy of it on YouTube, but I waited for the DVD release. The original was lost, so they had to kind of piece it together out of found copies of the movie, but it's a real recommendation. Dirty Deal seems to have disappeared. Yeah, sometimes Australian films in particular aren't particularly looked after, and the production companies disappear, and that in itself is problematic. Let's have a look. Let's get into the second quickly. Have you ever watched a movie in a different format, like an 1.85 to 1 movie crop from 2.3 to 1, or even the other way? So yeah, sometimes. Goodbye Paradise was originally in 1.85 to 1, but the only way they could resurrect the movie for DVD release was to do it in 3 to 2 aspect ratio, because that's the originals they could find. So there are kind of semi-lost films that appear in different aspect ratios than the original ones. And I'm not fond of that, but I'd rather have a copy of it, a decent copy of a movie, in the wrong aspect ratio than not have a decent copy of a movie I like. Peter Gabriel's soundtrack on Dirty Deals, absolutely. How about Stone, 1973 over Mad Max? I don't think you have to compare movies like that. I think that Stone stands on its own. There's been a recent Blu-ray release of it on Umbrella Entertainment that I picked up. I saw Stone back in the day because I was a Sydney boy at the time, and I liked movies that were set in my hometown. There weren't that many of them. Stone's great. I mean, terrific cast with Sandy Harbert, of course, the director, starring in it. Let's see who else is in there. Ken Shorter, and of course Vincent Gill and Roger Water in there, and Hugh Keys-Byrne. Fantastic ensemble cast, and nice gritty movie as well. Jono Bloke says, "Good morning, all." Hey, Jono. Alan Ford says, 10 Canoes, I got that on my to-watch list and made Incident of Ravens Gate guy. Look forward to seeing that. Is Ghost of the Civil Dead a film I'd recommend? It's a hard film. It depends on what you like in cinema. If you like hard, gritty movies, absolutely, Ghost of the Civil Dead is a recommendation. No two ways about it. It's hard to watch in some ways, but I think it's an honest film. I think it may have even been filmed in Pentridge Jail, which is now a big shopping centre with a cinema complex and a whole bunch of houses on it. They took this enormous prison with great big bluestone walls, and when they stopped using it as a prison, they turned it into a housing complex with a shopping centre, which is kind of weird. But we've been there a few times, and there's a really nice yum cha place there. Let's have a look here. Okay, we'll go back to. I'll get rid of the $1 ones I've got. I'll get through them. Spring Gritty Movie. Animal Kingdom's probably your favourite Australian film, Craig. Absolutely, Animal Kingdom's great. Jackie Weaver's been in Australian films since the 1970s, and as a mother in that, she is great. What's the headphone mic? It's a Microsoft Live Chat. It's just easy to use. It plugs and plays. It really does well. There was Stir, the Australian prison film as well. Brian Brown and John Kennedy. Yeah, absolutely. But to get on to the $1 ones I got, Sink the Bismarck. British film about sinking the German ship Bismarck. And I haven't watched this one for a long time, but I thought I'd give it a go. It's got Kenneth More and Dana Winter in it, and for $1, it was worth getting. One of those 1950s British war films where they were kind of glorifying what they did, and justifiably, of course. Let's see, just reopened the flea markets there because of streaming. The stalls are busting with DVDs. Absolutely. Have I seen Autofocus, Dealer? Yeah, I've seen Autofocus. Great about Bob Crane. Yeah, you can't rewatch Hogan's Heroes after seeing that film. I had Duat, the Fast Runner. It's a movie about Canadian Indigenous people in the North. It sounds similar to Ten Canoes. Yeah, that'd be worth seeing, absolutely. Sparkling Silence says Chris Carter, the creator of X-Files, said Night Stalker was the inspiration. Absolutely. Awesome war movie. I had the book and read it in primary school, and every few years seen it on TV. Yeah, Sick the Besmite works. This one I'm not too sure about. Against All Flags with Errol Flynn and Maureen O'Hara. Picked it up on my as I thought I'd give it a go. It's an Errol Flynn movie I haven't, so I thought I'd give it a try. Know nothing about it apart from it's a swashbuckler, and I think it's a later Errol Flynn movie, so maybe it was a little bit on the sauce at the time, but thought I'd get that one to go. Let's see, this one, Merlin with Sam Neill. I haven't seen it, but I thought I'd give it a go. Might be a bit of fun, and I love Sam Neill. If you haven't, if you go to Twitter and follow Two Paddocks, that's Sam Neill. And Sam Neill's got this cute thing on his farm where he names farm animals after actors he's worked with that he likes. Alan Ford says, yeah, listen to your 4 prison movies. You mentioned Pentridge Prison, which made me think of Ghost Civil Dead. Played World of Warships. I often Citadel Bismarck, Jono says. Here's another one. I picked this up, but it's such a shit copy, I'm going to have to find another copy of it. It's 2 superhero movies from India. I saw the movie that comes before this, Koi Mil Gaya, while I was flying over India back in 2004. But these are Ra One and Krish. There's a few other movies in this series, but I put this into the DVD player, and the aspect ratio and the definition are so shit, I'm going to have to find other copies of it. But they're a lot of fun, and they're very different superhero movies. They predate the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But Krish and Ra One, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this one. I may have to recycle them because they're that bad. They're not worth anybody watching. Jerry says, it's true Australia was used as a prison colony by the British. Any cool movies in that setting? There are a few, but they're hard to find. There's Journey into Women is one. There's Tim Levy's. Hey, Tim, how you doing? Hope you guys are keeping well over there, you and Tammy. There are a few of them, but it's not our finest hour. Let's see. Have I seen a film adaptation of a video game that I actually liked? That's a tough one. Let me think. Not that I can think of off the top of my head. Ra One's in a different universe from Chris, says Tim. Okay. I thought it was in the same universe, but I'm willing to go with that. So let's get on to the other stuff I bought. And some of these I got cheaply, some of these I didn't. Thomas says Against the Wind. That was a TV series, I think. Jamie Sutcliffe says, yeah, that Merlin movie is fun. Miranda Richardson is entertaining over the top in it. Yeah, I like Miranda Richardson, so I'm looking forward to watching that one. How about House of the Dead? I liked it. Don't care if anyone else thinks, except for me, of course. Haven't seen House of the Dead, but I'm willing to give it a go. And let's see, documentary style of Moondine Joe. I'm not sure what that means, but that's okay. This one's been mentioned a lot on the comments when I've been doing 1980s, but I've got a decent copy of it. It's by Arrow Films, the particular Blu-ray. I've got a decent copy of The Quiet Earth, and I'm saving that one for a future video. So, yeah, looking forward to that. Grant says, British film Jigsaw was very good on Tubi. I'll have to check that out as well. Michael says, I first saw The Man from Snowy River in college. It was great too. Have not seen it since. Not sure how great it is now, but at the time it was crazily popular in Australia. But yeah, The Quiet Earth. I saw The Quiet Earth in Wellington, New Zealand, where it was filmed. And if you're going to see a post-apocalyptic movie, there's a real virtue in seeing it in the town in which it was filmed. Really interesting movie directed by Jeff Murphy. I'm going to enjoy rewatching this. There's a little bit about colonization of New Zealand by white people. There's a subtext of racism in this one. And it's a little bit like The World, the Flesh, and the Devil. But yeah, I'm going to have a bit of fun when I do get into that, and I will be putting it into a future video. Yeah, middle-aged kid girl's talking about Blood Rain. She is so dirty on Uwe Boll's version of Blood Rain. Time for some water. Sparkling Sino says, House of the Dead was so campy. I guess you could call it a guilty pleasure. Vulgar pleasure would be more of it. I don't like guilt. I don't think you should be guilty watching movies at all. That's getting a little hard on my ear there, so I'll take it off. But I think vulgar pleasure is a much better term than guilty pleasure. But yeah, I'll put that back on, see if I can adjust it a little bit. Yeah, so there's still some things I've actually saving the best for last on this whole thing, by the way. But let me have a look here. I'm going to give you guys. Yeah, Jamie Sutcliffe says interesting effects on a low budget in The Quiet Earth, if I can remember correctly. Yeah, I think that they definitely use them sparingly and use them well, particularly in the end scenes. I think it works well, and you've got that iconic image at the end of The Quiet Earth. Haven't seen it for a fair while, so I'm looking forward to revisiting that one. Do people want to hear my sarcastic endings to movies, sarcastic descriptions of the endings of movies? Grant McDonald says, The Changeling was very good the first time I saw it. Haven't seen that for a long, long time. Sparkling Sire says, Quiet Earth will mess with your head if you're not ready for it, but I loved it. Okay, cool. I also watched King Frat last night. Still gross funny. Haven't seen King Frat. Not sure. Let me have a look. Let me do a quick Google on that. Okay, 1979. Yeah, 1979 movies are always vulgar pleasures. Finish the Hall first says middle-aged geek girl because she thinks she's the boss. Okay, here we go. Really creepy movie from the 1970s. Craig says, do you find your taste in movies changing over the years? I'll address that one first. Yeah, I think that the more you know about movies, the more movies you'll appreciate. Wait a second. I didn't hit the mute button. Okay, yeah, so Animal House derivative, the version was bloody sensible, stupid pixelation too. Strangling is a good example of scary without gore. Absolutely, suspense works in movies. So yeah, do my taste in movies change? Yeah, because I change. You can't not have your taste in movies change and still be evolving as a human being. The more you know, there are going to be movies that you really liked at the time that you find unwatchable now because your opinions on various things change. There are going to be movies that you didn't appreciate because you weren't as aware of the world and aware of certain things as you were at the time. Well, you were as you are now. Sorry, and yeah, as you evolve, absolutely, and as you see more movies, you can appreciate certain movies more. And I think that sometimes you can learn as much from a bad movie about what works in a movie than you can from a good movie. All the things that are wrong in a movie inform your knowledge as a movie watcher. Yeah, seeing two old ladies naked at an impressionable age. Well, naked is naked. I mean, just got to go with it. Okay, this one anyway. It's a horror movie I haven't seen for a long time, but I thought I'd pick up because I got it cheaply from Arrow Video. And it's The Witch Who Came from the Sea with Millie Perkins. Creepy movie, really freaky in some ways, as I recall. But I'm saving that one for a future video. and I'm looking forward to watching it. It's a weird 1970s, I think, movie. I remember seeing it and thinking it was weird at the time, but I wanted to revisit it, so I picked up a copy. I think I got a buy two, get one free deal at Zavi.com, and looking forward to that one. I'm going to race through the hall so I can talk about other things, but this one I picked up because I want to do it on a video, and I just burped. Sorry about that. Let's see. Have I seen the Noah 1968 with Robert Strauss? No. Okay, here we go. This one I want to do for a future video. Wrong is Right with Sean Connery. I picked up a Dutch version of it because it's hard to find. In Australia, it was called The Man with the Deadly Lens. But it's about media. It's about the American military-industrial complex. It's satirical, made by Richard Brooks. And Connery is miscast as a photojournalist. Sorry, no, as a video journalist. But it's a lot of fun. It's got a lot of satire to it. And I wanted to do it for an opinion. Yeah, ME says, yeah, my opinions in 1980s Hughes films have changed, especially 16 Candles. Yeah. Some of the movies we liked from the 1980s were atrocious films like Revenge of the Nerds. But anyway, Wrong is Right. I'm going to do for a future video. I did pick this up because I wanted to have a copy of it because I find it an interesting one-off phenomenon. Okay, Michael says, what are my expectations for this third version of Dune? I like Denis Villeneuve as a director. I want to see what he does with Dune. That's where I'm going at the moment. The visuals, I'm not sure, but I'm going to see it and I'm going to see what he brings to the game. And I like some of the casting in it. I did pick up the Snyder cut of Justice League, which I think is better than the original version. It's better than the one that Whedon did. It's 4 hours long, so it's on 2 DVDs. I didn't get the Blu-ray version for some reason, but it's on 2 DVDs, and I think it's an improvement on Justice League, and I picked up quite cheaply. And yeah, it's worth checking out to compare and contrast the two. I'm still not convinced that Zack Snyder is the bee's knees, but it was interesting to see the way he took this movie. Seeing 2 versions of the same film, filmed at roughly the same time, is quite an interesting intellectual thing for a movie buff to do. So I picked up that. I've got a few more to go. This is hard on the throat, this live streaming, but it's very, very worthwhile. Let's see. These are the bare bones. Yeah, middle-aged good girl says, much better version, at least there was a story there. Absolutely. These I picked up cheaply. They're bare bones versions of it, but the movies I really wanted. Lonely Are the Brave with Kirk Douglas. Modern Western. If you haven't seen Lonely Are the Brave, this is a high recommend from me. Benny Bruce says, Snyder Cut's much better. Still not a great movie. Yep. Aspect ratio is different, but it's good. Yep, absolutely. But yeah, this one, if you haven't seen it, check it out. Modern Western. It's one of Douglas's best movies of the 60s and in black and white, but really, really recommended. This one I know nothing about, apart from the fact that it's based on a Eugene O'Neill play, and it's got an interesting cast in it. And it is Long Day's Journey into Night with Ralph Richardson, Katharine Hepburn, Jason Robards, and Dean Stockwell. It's a drama. I wanted to see it, so I bought it. I think I got a bunch of these for like $5 each, sent to me from JB Hi-Fi. So at that kind of price point, I'm willing to give things a go. So I got that. This one I got because I saw it on TV the other day. And there were commercials because it was on commercial TV. For some reason, I was spinning through it and watched about 2/3 of it. I hadn't seen all of the movie. It's one of those famous movies that for some reason had slipped my radar. Zulu with Michael Caine and Stanley Baker. I'm a big Stanley Baker fan. And yeah, Zulu is an interesting film about colonization. John O'Block says, love the scene of Douglas dancing on the oars in Vikings. Absolutely. But rewatching Zulu, I like it. And I like the fact that it's a lot more even-handed than a lot of films of its time to Indigenous people. And that was one of the things that Stanley Baker wanted, because Stanley Baker, apart from being a fine actor and filmmaker, was a bit of a socialist and was a bit lefty. And even though a lot of kind of military imperialist types like the movie, I think there's definitely a subtext there which is kind of interesting from a modern viewpoint. Okay, I've got to go through some of the chat. Haven't picked up a modern movie in years now, too distracted by Criterion stuff. I'm making my way through Hammer thrillers. I feel there are more important older movies I need to see. 8-bits boy. Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where I try to balance the two. I don't want to get stuck in the past. I like the past and I talk about it a lot on the channel. But I'm also willing to look at modern movies and enjoy them as well. And I think the radio gig I do for ABC Radio keeps me fresh on that. I'm watching a combination of the both. And let's see, Jeff G says, I saw A Long Day's Journey in high school as part of a film course, gave me the blues, but obviously well made. Cool. Kirk Douglas film The Villain is good. Ken says, yeah, absolutely. Comedy with Kirk Douglas. Not sure comedy was his best skill set, but it kind of does work. Zulu is an absolute terrific movie all around, Mr. DJC. Yeah, absolutely. And I really enjoyed it, and I'm going to sit down and watch it again all the way through without commercial interruption. And I expect to get a lot from it. Got 3 more things here, so I'll get through them and then we can just shoot the shit. Walk on the Wild Side, drama from about 1960. One of Jane Fonda's first roles. It's got Lawrence Harvey, Capuchin, and Baxter Barbara Stanwyck playing lesbian lady. One of those kind of steamy dramas that they put out in the 1960s. Again, this is one I picked up for just pocket change, really. Bare bones version of it, but I'm looking forward to rewatching that one too. I watched it many moons ago, but I'm sure it was at a time when I didn't understand the nuance of some of the plot bits. And if you can hear a noise in the background, it's a kitten playing around. But I picked up that, and then I picked up this weird one. It's a rant. This is D-Lee says, Blame the Brave is a good film, very underrated. I agree. Hell of a film. And it should be given a lot more love than it is. I'm a bit of a fan of Arabian Nights films. I know that they're cultural appropriation and they're wrong on a number of levels, but I grew up with a lot of them. And understanding the cultural appropriation of an Arabian Nights adventure film, I can then kind of enjoy it, but I do acknowledge that they're not the kind of movie that's going to be made now. This one's in black and white, stars Lucille Ball and John Agar. It's a thing called The Magic Carpet. Know nothing about it, but I'm going to give it a go. Again, this is a couple of bucks. There was 30% off at JB Hi-Fi, and these ones were going for like $6 with 30% off. So it's one of those ones that I just thought I'd give it a go because it's got such a random cast. Let's see. ABC, indeed, Zulu was amazing. Zulu's a fine film. Love that Chief Mangasutu Buthelezi stars in it. Absolutely. What do I think of Village of the Damned and the sequel Children of the Damned? I did a video about that. And what do I think of the John Carpenter remake? I think it was superfluous. But I did a video about the Damned one, so you might want to dive back into the archive. It's definitely there. Now, here's the last thing I got. You're going to like this. I picked this up. I get a little bit of money from Amazon Associates. If you have a look in the description of my videos, there's a link to Amazon, and I get a few cents every time somebody buys something through the link. And I spent my link money on this paperback of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood by Quentin Tarantino, which is done in the style of like 1970s paperbacks. It's got the back cover like that. It's got ads for other paperbacks in the back, but it's done in retro style. It's not a good novel, but it's good if you like deep cut movie references and to give you more backstory on the characters. I'm a couple of chapters into this now, and it's not particularly well written, but it's deep cut movie buff fodder, and I'm going to enjoy it on that basis. Cost me not very much at all, like $12 with postage to Australia. But yeah, this one's kind of fun. Let's see, Dilly says, Zuna was a bank holiday film in the UK. There was a follow-up made in the 80s, Zulu Dawn. Yep, that was made after Stanley Baker died because he was a producer on Zulu. He wanted to make it, but unfortunately didn't live long enough to do that. But I think Zulu, is better than Zulu Dawn. So, yeah, do people want to hear my brief descriptions of movies? Because I sat down yesterday and had a creative brainstorm and put together a whole bunch of descriptions of movies that are sarcastic and nasty a little bit. So let me know whether you want them because we've got about another 40 minutes. Okay, here we go. The ending of basically my thing about Citizen Kane. I'm doing Citizen Kane first. My description of Citizen Kane: rich man dies. The Midwich Cuckoos. That was the one that the Village of the Dam was based on. Yeah, absolutely. I like that paperback. Looks like a Jekyll and Suzanne novel circa 1980. Yeah, I've been tempted to do Valley of the Dolls as a movie on the channel. Jekyll and Suzanne stuff is crazy. And there's another movie called The Love Machine with John Philip Law, which I may well do at a future time when I can get a decent copy of it to watch. Yep, The Damned, an underrated movie with Oliver Reed. Absolutely, The Damned is one of the best movies Hammer made, particularly in the 80s. Let's see, my description of Star Wars, the ending of Star Wars. Now, I know middle-aged Giggle doesn't like me going off at Star Wars because I'm not a fan of it. But my description of the end of Star Wars, disabled widower has his dreams shattered by his estranged son. That's it. I'll read that again. Star Wars, disabled widower has his dreams shattered by his estranged son. Let's have a look. Iron Man. Billionaire builds a cool toy. 2001: A Space Odyssey. Boring astronaut goes to Jupiter and turns into a giant space baby. I don't have a Back to the Future one at the moment. Jerry says, I read it, love Tarantino's wrong about Cliff being an artsy film critic. Cliff is Tarantino's alter ego film critic because Cliff is a John Ford type of film goer. Yeah, I haven't read it all yet, so don't do spoilers to me yet, Jerry. Let's have a look here. Children of Men. I've got a description of Children of Men. One woman has a baby, but humanity is still stuffed. Let's see. Interstellar. A man manipulates his daughter's entire life and then pisses off to live with his girlfriend. The Searchers. I've got one for The Searchers, the John Ford film. Violent racist rescues a girl. Let's have a look here. Chinatown. I got one for the ending of Chinatown. Rich rapist gets away with it. Okay, people remember the Rock Hudson movie Seconds. My description of Seconds is old man becomes an organ donor. I'll repeat that because I said it badly. Seconds, old man becomes an organ donor. Let's see what else I got. Thelma and Louise. The patriarchy wins. Let's see. And I've got one for Alien. The movie Alien from 1979. Woman disrupts the reproductive cycle of an endangered species. Let's see. The Wicker Man. Religious minority exercise their freedom of religion. Let's have a look. The Wolfman, the classic movie, The Wolfman. Infected man review. Let's start. I'll start it again. The Wolfman. Infected man refuses to self-isolate. So let's see. I've got a few more here. Where is it? Oh yeah, here we go. Breakfast at Tiffany's. I've got one for Breakfast at Tiffany's. Con artist falls in love with male sex worker. And The Italian Job. I like The Italian Job, so I like a lot of these movies, so please don't think that I'm dissing them. I'm just having a bit of fun. The Italian Job. Metaphor for Brexit ends up as well as the real Brexit. I got one for Wonder Woman. Really old woman gets a boyfriend and then he dies. And I've got one for Wonder Woman 84. Really, really old woman resurrects her dead boyfriend by stealing another man's life, and her friend turns into a cat. I can do one for Midnight Cowboy later, but these are the ones I've got. I'm going to roll here. I got one for the TV series Loki. So this is a slight spoiler if you haven't seen all of Loki yet. God of Mischief takes masturbation to its logical conclusion. And I got one for Black Widow. Marvel apologizes to Scarlett Johansson for all the sexist shit she had to put up with in the MCU. Let's see, Doolittle. Have anyone seen the Doolittle movie with Robert Downey Jr.? So the ending of that is Robert Downey Jr. sticks his arms up a dragon's bum. I've got one for the ending of John Wick 3. Keanu falls off a building. And I got one for Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Wealthy capitalist terrifies a child and gives him a factory full of unpaid labor. Doolittle is a weird film, by the way. I'll go on for Doctor Strange because I was on an MCU role here. Surgeon changes careers. And I got one for Thor. Privileged pretty boy gets his toy back. And I got one for the ending of The Incredible Hulk. Some of these are for the endings of movies. The ending of The Incredible Hulk. 2 drug-addled white guys smash up Harlem. And I got one for the ending of Casablanca. Nightclub owner runs away with his boyfriend. And Wizard of Oz. Coma victim has weird hallucination. And the last one I've got, because I ran out of time, is Seven Samurai. Unemployed workers become pest controllers. So that's the list of brief, sarcastic descriptions of movies and the endings of movies that I've got. I really should put this up on a blog post or something at some stage. But yeah, I just went kind of a bit nutso with those and thought I'd throw them into the live stream for the fun of it. So has anybody got any other questions? Because I'm running out of material here. Dennis Lawson says, have I had an Australian movie edition? Do you mean an Australian movie video? Yeah, 8-Bit Sync Boy says, I love Scarlett, but the MCU movies are the worst stuff she's ever done. I liked her in Ghost World. I think Ghost World with her and Thora Birch was great fun. Sam Neill was very good in Dean Spanley with Peter O'Toole. Sam Neill I like a lot. I follow him on Twitter, and he's always hilariously beautiful. And he did some lockdown videos with various other actors where they kind of filmed half of it each and then spliced it together. Lovely guy. Any Patsy Bisco in the record collection? Middle-aged Geek Girl's got a Patsy Bisco album in her record collection. Have I seen the story of Anvil? Very much like Spinal Tap. Kay Nelson. No, I'm not that big into metal music. I like Spinal Tap for the satire of it, but it's not my particular love. Jerry says, loves trash cinemas, films like Smithereens, Permanent Vacation. Any you can recommend crap movies? I like Eating Raoul. I really want to do some stuff with Paul Bartel's work at some stage in the future. I am getting a copy of Scenes from the Class Struggle in Beverly Hills, so I'm looking forward to doing something like those in a future video because I like that kind of 80s B or C movie aesthetic that Paul Bartel was a big thing. Neely says, Lord of the Rings trilogy, some stolen jewelry is disposed of. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm not in love with Lord of the Rings. I tried to read The Hobbit back in school, and I tried to read it since then. And it's just so twee and British, I just couldn't get into it at all. Craig says, really love Rollerball. Any other 70s social science fiction? I like ZPG. That one was good. I think The Amiga Man was a lost opportunity because it kind of was a little too Charlton Heston. I definitely like Soylent Green, though. I think that the Soylent Green in people thing doesn't kind of work. I actually had dinner with the author of the original novel, Harry Harrison, and his wife Joan once upon a time back in the 80s. They were both lovely people. Benny Bruce says, random question, did you ever see The Wiz with Michael Jackson, Diana Ross, original remake of The Wizard of Oz? Yeah, but I didn't like it. I always found Michael Jackson creepy, and history has proven me right. Steve Roberts says, how about Death Race 2000 for Paul Bartel? That was definitely going to be on the Paul Bartel retro I do. If you go on the channel and search Australia, there are a number of Australian movies reviewed. Yeah, if you want I'll give you two recommendations right off the bat. Mystery Road and Goldstone, both directed by Ivan Sen, both starring Aaron Pedersen. If you like neo-noir and you like action films and you like social commentary, those movies are fantastically good. I just love them. They're slow burns, and Aaron Pedersen should be a much bigger star than he is. They are terrific, and I will recommend them. And there's also been a Mystery Road TV series starring Aaron Pedersen as the same character, Jay Swan, a police officer. The two series of Mystery Road are terrific as well. Cinematography is on point. Characterization, writing, everything is just fantastic there. And he says, Soylent Green's most frightening part for me was the reveal that all the oceans are dead. Cannibalism is just a byproduct of that. Yeah. And there's also the Edward G. Robinson euthanasia scene. Eddie Robinson was dying at the time himself, and that adds an extra poignancy to that. I think that Harry Harrison told me when I had dinner with him that Eddie Robinson came up to him as the writer of the novel and said, I can't get an idea of what my character soul is supposed to be. And Harry Harrison said to him, in the time that the movie is set, I will be your age. And so you are me in this movie, and you are me who knows what the old world was like. And Eddie Robinson said, right, that's what I need. And his character in that movie is terrifically on point. And it's I think it's a really interesting film, but I think that the action at times kind of overwhelmed the story. Do you turn to any particular streaming service when you can't find a physical copy of things? Depends on what I'm looking for. Different streaming services have different things. It's a difficult one, but I am quite good at searching out physical copies of things from eBay and other places. So I can usually find what I need. Sometimes it's out of my price range, which is unfortunate. But you just got to be patient. I mean, I think that with any kind of movie collection, be patient. Search the streaming services. In Australia, we've got Netflix, we've got Stan, we've got Amazon Prime. I can find some things on those platforms. I can find some on Tubi, but it depends on what you're looking for. John O'Bloke says, Joe Moondine was in Western Australia's most famous bushranger, except he was a tracker escape artist. First bloke to escape Fremantle prison. I've been to Fremantle prison. It's not an easy place to escape from. Scarlett Johansson was great in The Island. She's poor with the rest of from a whole bunch of other things. 8-Bit Sing Boy says, I watched No Blade of Grass a couple of days ago. Very disturbing for 1970. Absolutely. That's the lovely thing about Cornel Wilde and his work is that he was a primitive and there's a lot of brutality in his movies, but I think they were honest films. Clayton says, it's people. You had dinner with Harry Harrison. Well, yeah, I did. Yeah, and Clayton says, physical media will come to you. You've got to be open to it. It's like looking for particular books. You really want a particular book and you can't find it, and then 5 years later you'll find it for $2 in a bookshop. Have I read any of Peter Biskin's books like Easy Riders, Raging Bull, and Down and Dirty Pictures? Yeah, I have. I've got them. Let's see if I can find one offhand. Whether they're here or in the other room. Let me just have a look. Yeah, I do have a few of them around there. Here in the collection, but I think they're in the other room at the moment. Yeah, Harry Harrison, Stainless Steel Rat is the best thing he's done. Yeah, he did those ones basically for rent money when he was living in New York. W. King says, thanks for your fun work. Thank you. And Clayton says, hi from Austin, Texas. Hi, Clayton. I hope you're keeping cool there because I know you guys have got heat problems and also, of course, some electric problems. But yeah, it's that's the interesting thing is you've got to have a mental list. Physical list if you have to, but you've got to have a list somewhere. Mine's just about there of things you want to get a copy of, and you'll find them eventually. You just keep looking around. When you're not in lockdown like I'm in at the moment, you look around and eventually you'll find things. Some things you might not find, but that's okay too. But there are always things you're going to find sometimes years later and enjoy. And there are going to be things you really wanted to get and you find a copy of it and it turns out to be not as good as you expected. That's just how it is with movie collecting. 1980s science fiction fun. Dreamscape. Yeah, Dreamscape's cool. Dennis Quaid's cool in it. I think that it works. Eddie Albert, hell of an actor, but also he did some heroic shit in World War II. Interesting that he played light things like Green Acres, and yet he was the kind of guy who did heroic things as well. Let's see. Horror Express, one of the scariest 1970s horror films. Michael, if you go to tubi.tv, you'll be able to watch it again. Steve Roberts, I have a large physical collection, but they're laserdiscs. Yeah, they are large. I actually went into a couple of second-hand stores here in Australia about a year ago, and they had a whole bunch of laserdiscs. I don't have a laserdisc player, so I didn't get them. But what was there is really weird, random, enormous laserdiscs. Olga's House of Shame is premiering on Cult Cinema Classics on YouTube. Olga's House of Shame is such a trashy film. This video will be up on the channel later. Some people can't make the live stream, so I always make them available later so people can sit down for 2 hours and get cold sores on their backsides watching these things. Alan says, I've got an encapsulation of Any Given Sunday. Motley Crue comes good, aided by diminutive method actor. Yeah, that's pretty valid. Debbie King says, Eddie Albert's son was his best friend, was like his best friend and turned down many roles to care for his ailing father. Yeah, Edward Albert. Interesting. He did Butterflies Are Free with Goldie Hawn, amongst other things. And Clayton says, my drummer friend has Laserdisc, but no player that works. Yeah, I suppose it's good that he's preserving the media, but Laserdiscs are such a kludgy kind of technology these days. Harrison also wrote a short parody of Dr. Smith's Lensman books called Backstage Lensman, which was funny. Yeah, it was. Harry was a very funny guy. He enjoyed life a lot. We were in a Greek restaurant. He kept pinching olives off my plate. Laserdisc started to the 80s, what 8-tracks were to the 70s. Yeah, I remember somebody had an 8-track player in his car, and he only had about 5 8-track cartridges. So, you'd listen to the soundtrack to Woodstock, and then you'd listen to Jethro Tull, and then you'd listen to Woodstock again. Yeah, Harry, what's your favourite Alfred Hitchcock movie? I like Vertigo for the perversity of it. I like The Birds as well, though he was monstrously bad to Tippi Hedren. Let's see what else. I like Saboteur, the 1942 one, with Robert Cummings, and that one's good. And let's see, what else do I like in Hitchcock? Of course, Psycho. Psycho I saw in the cinema, in retrospective cinema, when I was about 14. I snuck in. Scared the shit out of me. Strangers on the Train, absolutely, Clayton. Strangers on the Train is great. Best question: do you Amazon link to YouTube get much traction? W King, a little tiny bit. I think it's there. I mean, I get crazy little money with that. I get like coffee money once every couple of months out of it. But it's there partly so that people, if they've got the money and they want to, can access a copy of what I'm talking about. It's as much for that as it is for the Amazon thing. If the channel expands, of course, it may get bigger. But for me, it's the tiniest bit of what I get back for things. But I kind of like doing it, and you never know. It may well hit big. And I always get Amazon gift cards rather than money back from it. So anything that I got from the Amazon associates will go back into me buying movies that I can talk about on the channel. So it's a feedback loop for the channel. Yeah, I tried to think of the money you put into Laserdisc muscle, which became unplayable. Yeah, the Laserdiscs were. FG says, my favourite Hitchcock is Suspicion. That's a valid choice. Absolutely. Suspicion is great. I only saw that for the first time a few years ago. Clayton says, my channel is really growing lately. Yeah, we're up towards 7,000 subscribers, which is good. And we're getting views, which is great. Channels are a weird thing on YouTube, and I'll just give you a little bit of kind of backstage stuff for this. I did the fourth video I ever did, which I did like 4 years ago, maybe more, was about TV westerns I liked back from the classic days. That suddenly got traction now, and I'm getting like 16,000 views in a month, and people saying, oh, I like this western more than that western kind of thing, and your opinions are crap. But I'm getting a lot of traffic for a really old video. And that's the interesting thing about YouTube as a platform. It isn't your latest videos, sometimes it hits big. It's a video you did 3-4 years ago that you've forgotten about. And suddenly the algorithm will grab it and put it to an audience that likes that kind of stuff. And it helps the channel with no extra effort from me. And apart from answering comments, most of which I go, yes, I didn't like that one. But yeah, the platform is weird from that. And so having a body of videos is a nice thing because sometimes the algorithm will grab them. Jono says, I'm cheaper than a handful of 1960 sweets. That is cheap. I mean, choo-choo bars were crazy cheap at the time. W. King says, thanks for linking those all-around classy content. Thank you. W. King says, the rewatch Family Club, Hitch's last film was a lot of fun. Psychics, kidnappers, and helicopters. Yeah, favourite Hitchcockian film was Peeping Tom. Michael Powell's Peeping Tom is a great film. Dennis says, I bought a box set of all Hitchcock films, bought it through Chinatown, Sydney. Unfortunately, they were closed down. Yeah, I bought some Bruce Lee things from Chinatown. When I was up in Sydney in April, I got like 6 or 7 Bruce Lee movies in bad quality for like $10 in a really weird package. I bought it as much for the packaging as I bought it for anything else. But yeah, Chinatown in Sydney's got some very dodgy videos. AP Sync Boy says, thanks for everything you do, Terry. I'm not a libertarianist at heart, but even so, our politics do not always align. I will never judge you for your politics or opinions, so you be you, my friend. Thank you. I can disagree with politics with you, and that's fine. I'm a lefty. I'm comfortable with that. I understand other people aren't. But one of the things with the channel, I've talked with a couple of much bigger YouTubers than me on Twitter, and they always say that if somebody insults you personally, block them. So I'm doing that. But if we disagree politically in a polite, gentlemanly, or friendly manner, I'm more than happy to do that. Clayton says Rear Window. Yeah, Rear Window is great. It's got Thelma Rear in it. How's it not great? There, Motorwell says, love Michael Powell. Yep. Rear Window, definitely agree. Have I seen the Rear Window with Christopher Reeve? Yeah, I don't think it's anywhere near as good. I understand that Christopher Reeve, because of his disability at the time, wanted to make it, but I don't think it was necessary. So yeah, but I like Hitchcock stuff. I know Hitchcock was a piece of shit human being in so many ways, but then so many movie makers were. Kay Nelson, discovered your channel recently, having fun watching all your videos. Just wanted to say thank you for all the wonderful insights and introducing me to new films worth pursuing. My pleasure. Okay, absolutely. It's there's no use knowing stuff unless you share it with other people, because if you keep knowledge to yourself, what's the point? And just my misspent use spent in cinemas is now paying off, so that's all good. What's the LP collection behind me? Soundtracks. I've got soundtracks. I've got records by actors who can't sing. I've got a lot of jazz. I've got some 60s stuff in there. I've got soundtracks. I've got all sorts of things that I picked up over time. It's fun, and I've just got a new. I don't need a big sound system or anything because the records are sometimes in not great shape. But I've got a kind of eclectic record collection there. Yeah, but is there a movie expected to be awful but turned out to be wonderful? That's a good one, Jamie. Thanks. Let me think. I know a movie I didn't expect to be good, but turned out to be crap. There's a movie called Career Girls that I think Mike Lee made in the 90s. Maybe, yeah, I think it's in the 90s, which is about two career girls in London. And I went into a preview screening of that because I was doing reviews for a blog at the time. And that surprised me how good it is. I haven't seen it since, but it's that movie that said open yourself up to things you don't normally watch. And Career Girls was definitely that movie. Richard Harris. Oh, don't start middle-aged geek girl on Jared Harris. She's a Jared Harris stan. Yeah, there was that remake of Casablanca with David Soul. It's known as a TV series, which is really weird. Let's see. I'm just going back up through things. But how many versions of Heaven have Wade can you see? I've seen them both. I think I've seen two of them. The Warren Beatty one and the one from the 1940s. Not that big on afterlife stuff. I think there's a certain stream of Christianity and afterlife stuff that rubs me wrong because of my atheist nature. I can watch biblical epics because they're like ancient superhero movies in some ways. But I don't like the ones that lean heavily on the theology. Yeah, FG. Bob Wire's Pamela Anderson was Casablanca, believe it or not. Yeah, I said that on Facebook a little while ago. I said that Barbed Wire is Casablanca with silicone. Not a good film. So, by the way, after the live stream, I am going to read some more of Tarantino's book. So I'm going to indulge myself. Greatest story never sold. Have I seen Band of the Hand? Not since the 80s. No. Greatest story ever told. I like that one because I think that's the one. Was it that King of Kings with Jeffrey Hunter? I think it might have been. Where at the time it was called I Was a Teenage Jesus. Compilation idea, creepy religious films. I don't want to get too much into dissing films on the channel. I think that I can really go down a rabbit hole of movies I hate, but I don't think that's the kind of stuff. I'd rather steer people towards movies I like, that are hidden gems and things like that. So don't really want to go there. Best Mel Gibson movie. Mel Gibson is a racist piece of anti-Semitic shit. And I got a story from a friend that I can't share because it's his story about how Mel Gibson has always been a piece of shit. But yeah, I'm tempted to see that new Santa Claus movie. What is it, Fat Man or something like that? That Mel Gibson did. The Singing Detective, the original version of The Singing Detective, absolutely. The one with Michael Gambon, fantastic piece of film. Best Mel Gibson film, the one where he's frozen, probably Gallipoli, where he gets shot. Was it him that gets shot or the other guy? What do I think of Ramen Girl? I thought it was fun, but no one saw it. I haven't seen Ramen Girl. I should see Ramen Girl, should I? But yeah, so that just to kind of, I'm getting towards the end of the live stream. We've got another 9 minutes. Just to summarize where I want the channel to go, I want it to be about hidden gems to a certain extent and things that people aren't familiar with. I know that the science fiction movie videos I do rate very well, but I want to expand away from that because I'm going to eventually run out of hidden gem science fiction movies for people. So I don't want to kind of put myself into a cul-de-sac. So it's going to be all sorts of movies that the channel hits, because that then helps the longevity of the channel, and I want this to go for a very long time. So I will be doing genre works as well, horror movies, science fiction, mysteries, fantasies, but I want to keep expanding as well. Let's have a look at this. Steve says, I actually liked your positive in your reviews. You also steered me towards some neat TV and movies I hadn't considered. That's the point, Steve. That's the point of the channel. So thank you for that. Once Upon a Time in the West. I like it, Once Upon a Time in the West. Haven't seen The People versus O.J. Simpson. Screenwriter of The Man in the Moon, I think. I don't want to give oxygen to people like O.J. Simpson. What I like, looking forward to doing soon is choosing Thelma Ritter as my favourite film. I actually seen your survey. Do it. Get those last minute questions in, Sally says. Yep. Thelma, my wife saw Mel Gibson in a stage version of Romeo and Juliet. She fell in lust. Now she's revolted at the thought of him. I can understand why. Absolutely. So different to see Ethran the Robot. It's not available in the UK. Only been on TV once. Yeah, that Indian movie is crazy. The special effects are next level. Really, really are a lot of fun. Bollywood does some really interesting and wild and wonderful films. And it may well be a rabbit hole down which I fall to find some very cool movies to talk about. Giving your take on Gibson, did you enjoy Dragged Across Concrete? Haven't seen it. It's the problem. There's so much content coming out. It's hard to see everything. But I don't like Mel Gibson as a rule. It's a bit like, I actually met Kevin Spacey once, but then I found out what he did. And I can't watch a Kevin Spacey movie now. I just find it repugnant. Which genres do I really not enjoy that much? Music. I like musicals. I like fantasy. I even like chick flicks to a certain extent, though it depends on the chick flick. And chick flicks are a derogatory term, so women's films. There's not a genre I really don't like, except for those modern Christian films that are really kind of pious and creepy. I don't like those kind of low budget modern ones very much. Yeah, there are too many negative reviews on YouTube anyway. Yeah, I don't want to steer people away from movies. I want to steer them towards movies. And I think that that's how it's evolved, that the channel is going in that direction. And I'm happy with that. Eric says, really enjoyed North by Northwest. Yeah, North by Northwest is fun because Cary Grant is fun in that movie. Chick flick gems, yeah, that's a possibility. Disney musicals. Middle-aged Geek Girl says, yeah, I don't particularly like them. Though I do like Mary Poppins. Who was the other? It was the other one who was shot in Gallipoli. Yeah, Mark Lee. It's like like Harrison Ford. There's a weird Harrison Ford movie called Regarding Henry, where he's an asshole who gets shot in the head and becomes a better person. That one's a weird film. I know Middle-aged Geek Girl is an enormous Harrison Ford fan, but Regarding Henry is hilarious for the idea of getting shot in the head makes you a better person. But written by J.J. Abrams, I think. What was written by J.J. Abrams? Okay, yeah. Mel Gibson wasn't Gallipoli. He was, he was competent in a whole bunch of his early films, but not a nice person. Yeah, J.J. Abrams might have written Regarding Henry. Yeah, it's a weird film. It's not one I want to revisit particularly, but I like the silliness of it. Yeah, David A.R. White is really weird. I've seen some videos about his what is it, PureFlix channel, PureFlix platform. Yeah, not my kind of stuff. Yeah, the thing is, I can definitely fall into negativity. I did this on the radio just this week. My friend Michaela, who I do the radio with, likes Grease 2. It's one of her kind of vulgar pleasures as movies. And I'd never seen it, so I watched Grease 2 and reviewed it. And we had such fun tearing that movie apart and just talking about everything it did wrong and how WTF it was. That was fun. That was fun, but it was negative about the movie, but we turned it into a fun thing. But it's not somewhere I want my channel to go to. Why do I think Quibi failed? Too short. I think that really short works. TikTok is going off because it's one punch and then you're out. But longer format platforms work well. But Quibi was kind of in the middle there. It was they threw a lot of money into it, and there were a lot of good content creators in there, but the format was just wrong for what the audience wants. They want TikTok and they want longer form. Yep. Been a pleasure joining, Terry. Fine recommendation. Save the Green Planet, South Korea. Fantastic. All the best from Cardiff. Alan, thank you very much. Get some sleep, mate. It's got to be late there. And thank you for being part of the live stream. Do people watching films on phones enrage me? No. I think that if you can't get to a big screen, watch a film on a small screen. Earbud technology's got great, so the sound quality is on point. It's not where you watch what platform you watch the film on for me. It's the fact that you watch and enjoy the film. Okay, Terry's list of favorite movies starring dirtbags. Yeah, I don't want to go there because it's I'm trying to get positive. These lockdowns in the last year or so have been difficult, and I do have some mental health issues as well. So I've kind of got to balance out dissing dirtbags with where my head's got to be at. Save the Green Planet, Old Boy are two favourites. Absolutely, Clayton. Old Boy, the original one, not the remake with Josh Brolin. The original movie is a fantastic piece of cinema. Dennis says, well, box sets of Martin Scorsese, Werner Herzog, Roman Polanski. Fortunately, those shops were closed years ago. Yep, absolutely. I like Polanski films, but I don't like Polanski. That's another problematic one. Speaking of Quibi, the dumpster fire failure of Quibi on the Ordinary Things channel on YouTube is hilarious. Absolutely. Save the Green Planet I'm going to watch. Best Frank Thring performance, says Jono. Frank Thring, if you don't know, you go down the rabbit hole here. If you type into YouTube, Frank Thring Martin cigarettes, there's a terrific cigarette commercial he did in the 70s. But best Frank Thring role, I kind of like Mad Dog Morgan, where after Dennis Hopper is killed playing Morgan the bushranger, Frank Thring says something like, give me his scrotum to make a tobacco pouch. I like that. What did I see? He's in the Vikings as well. He also plays the evil king in the Vikings. He was in Ben-Hur. Frank Thring is a cultural phenomenon in Australia. Over-the-top camp gay guy who turned up on TV. Very witty, very erudite, very intelligent, lovely guy apparently. Frank Thring is one of the kind of pantheon gods of this channel. Baba Hotep, yeah, I like Baba Hotep as well. Let's see, we're getting down to the wire here on the channel. So I'm going to wind it up now. So thank you to everybody for being part of the live stream. It's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it. This one went easier for me than many of the other ones. So thank you to Middle Aged Geek Girl for being the moderator on here. It does help. But simple, yeah. Got to ignore the haters. They're just unhappy people are always looking for a target. Absolutely. No Country for Old Men. Definitely like the film, but yeah, the main guy dies off camera. We talked about Idiocracy earlier. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you for being a part of this. I know it's quite late where you are, mate. So look after yourselves. And I'm going to be out of here. I like Baba Hotep. Take care, guys. All of you. Thank you very much. I will be doing more live streams. So this is a lot of fun, and my throat is now giving up. So thanks again, people. I really appreciate it. You make this channel work much more than I do, and I will always be grateful for that. So, yep, Vegemite and Googie done, Jono. Yeah, okay, enjoy your Vegemite and your Goog, mate. And I'll catch you guys later. See you later. Take care, and Middle Aged Geek Girl, you rock.